this actually working now, or can anybody? Okay, I can use this imaginary one. I'll just go back to my theater days and use my projection. Yeah, my name is Jerry Rapp. I'm a filmmaker. I grew up here in Kansas City, moved to LA, and lived there for some time. I lived down on the West Coast, the East Coast. I'm back here. Basically, I've wanted to be a writer my entire life. It started with my mother used to post various quotes around the refrigerator, my nightstand, what have you. And I used to live my life by these quotes, and it also inspired me to look into classic writers. So I became really interested in classic writers very early. And then I, of course, like many of us, fell in love with movies and that way of storytelling, and that being a medium. When I was in 5th grade, I was assigned to deliver a report on a work of fiction, and I chose Romeo and Juliet. I said it in a modern-day setting in a high school. I turned it in, and I got a B-, but I thought it was probably due to the downer ending. So I knew it was not my fault. I was trying to stay true to the integrity of the original writer. So, I just went out to college. I started at UMKC here. Go UMKC. and then I went from there to USC. I spent time in a 7-year sentence in the university system. And got out, and I sold a script fairly early out from graduating college to Imagine Films, Ron Howard's company. It led to a number of other things. Basically, a big tumble drive through the Hollywood system. I was feeling very claustrophobic in LA, as many of you can attest to. I was feeling very lonely. I missed my family and friends. And meanwhile, in the 90s, when I was basically out there doing all this stuff, there was a huge decade under the influence sort of situation which was going on here in Kansas City, where people were making all kinds of great movies. And that isn't it. There was an incentives program then, a really great incentives program. People fought really hard to get and keep this incentives. They brought a lot of great movies to our region. It created a slate of classic movies. And I just want to plug really quickly, we are going to do a screening series starting in April through Cinema KC. We're actually having a retrospect of some of these films at the Medallion Theater, so come see those. But we were making all kinds of great movies, and it was based on this wonderful incentives program. So I was out in LA feeling very lonely. I sort of went rogue, and I decided that the studio system kind of wasn't for me, and I started making my own independent films by trying to raise money, and I teamed up with a buddy of mine, a cinema school buddy, and we made a feature film called Sand Trap in the 90s. That endeavor there. It went out, played a ton of festivals, it won some awards, it got distributed, led to a number of other feature ventures that I either wrote and or produced, and all of them have their own wonderful, unique experiences. All of them had their challenges, all of them had their satisfaction and their disappointments, but every one of them is absolutely worth doing and had a wonderful story around it to tell. So I don't regret any of these, and I really feel happy that these got made. But now, my calling is to make more films. And I love Kansas City, and I'm in love with this place for so many various reasons. Kansas City holds community, family, great talent, great people, a place to park. There's so many incentives in this wonderful city. But there needs to be more stories based around this. And another group that feels very turned on to this idea is, of course, KC Film Commission and Visit KC, who are still pushing very hard to get an incentive in Missouri in general, but specifically have accomplished getting a 10% incentive in the city of Kansas City. Now, if you film in the region of Kansas City, you get a 10% incentive. So at least it's something. Okay, we're building it very slowly. One of my heroes that does this is Alexander Payne in Nebraska, Pat's alma mater. Hometown. Not alma mater. Maybe you were educated there. I don't know. Alexander Payne is a great filmmaker. You've probably seen some of his works. He really believes in Nebraska as a location. He utilizes cast and crew there, all the locations. He creates a pop-up microeconomy during the time he shoots these films and really gives a lot of great exposure to Nebraska. I really look at him as an inspiration. There's a lot of great articles right now about how he's trying to get his incentive back in Nebraska. I would suggest checking out some of the things he's involved in. Him and his partner, Jim Taylor, producing partner. So anyway, it would be great to do things like Alexander Payne is doing and just really bring things in here, even if we have these constant financial obstacles. Everything I write now, to some extent, is informed by being in Kansas City and wanting to celebrate our great community. I've set several of my scripts in this region. These are screenplays that have some relationship to either Kansas City as a character, mention Kansas City, or can be filmed in the Kansas City region, essentially faking other regions that can be shot here. If you want to read any of these or check out any synopsis, please let me know. These also would make use of some of our amazing Kansas City area locations, create economy for businesses, create travel, hotels, what have you. Steph Scupham, as Pat mentioned, down at the Visit KC office, can really speak to this issue quite a lot. So my goal here is basically, this is a big dreaming goal, but I would like to achieve, most people have a 5-year plan that they talk about, and I think I need more than 5 years to get this all done. I'm trying to create a production partnership, a co-op, in which we create 8 projects within 10 years. Sounds really ambitious, but Pat was going to make 2 features in a year, so I think this is okay then. We can kind of do it. It would have, there's way more to this model that I'd love to discuss with you if you want to contact me about this. But essentially, it would involve a 10-year production plan that, where you would leapfrog some of these different projects during different years. And really, after year 5, we will have achieved 3 projects in the can and basically completed. Year 6 through 10 then would be basically focusing on some of the higher level, higher budgeted projects through these years once you've sort of established yourself. So this is my ultimate goal, to make 8 projects, not necessarily even mine. I want to rise together and I want to operate as a consortium and know what is the best project to be pushing forward. So this is a cooperation very open to collaboration and ideas. And you'll just have to really talk me out of some of my scripts. But if you can, let's make yours and let's create something that everybody can kind of chip in and rise together on projects. What I'm looking for are angels. Where are they? Angels, people who believe in this, like Pat said, people who just really believe in the passion of film and love what comes with that and love the fun of it and the excitement of it and telling great stories. If you are that person, or if you know of anyone, and you would like to come in and start talking to us about this business model, I would love to speak to you. Contact me here. If you know of any participatory partners, or are participatory in that you are a crew member or have some kind of skill level or talent you want to bring into this idea, I'd love to talk to you about that. Even advisory partners, if you don't want to be directly involved, but feel like somebody you might know, or if you would like to just give your consultation about anything that happens along the way, I would love to talk to you about that. And of course, storytellers. If you have great inspirational projects that might be able to be shot in Kansas City and can really express and celebrate this region, please let me know about those. Let's share stories. Let's get things happening. I really believe a slate is very important to think about because it doesn't just put all the eggs in one basket. It doesn't make one film having to make or break a situation. If a consortium of people are working toward a group project that is over a 10-year plan, it just gives you a lot more time to really make those quality and have sort of an end goal that you're working towards. So that's why I'm sort of aiming high. One more thing, I do have a booklet here that does highlight some of those Kansas City area projects with their synopses if you'd like to look at them. And Patrick mentioned earlier that we're collaborating on a project now that goes against everything I just said. We're going to try to shoot this in Utah. And let that be a lesson to you. So they offer a 25% incentive, basically meaning a quarter of your budget is refunded back to you, which is what we're trying to achieve here. So let's keep even more so, basically. But so if you'd like to look at that booklet later, I'd love to share that with you. This is sort of a little lookbook and mission statement for this movie. So if you would like to look at that, I'd love to share that with you. And please contact me down here if you need any more information or would like to just start collaborating about these ideas. And Kevin, are you available as a sound man?
He fixed the sound.
Okay. Email me. Thank you very much, everybody.
What questions do we have for Jerry?
Okay, that's great.
We're going to be off
Yeah, I think once we get established, absolutely in this company, there would be a lot of opportunity on that level. Currently, I'm with the Cinema KC group. The co-founder, John Shipp, is here with me. Also, we do basically offer a ton of internship possibilities and volunteer opportunities through that group. And we're segueing a lot more into our production aspect. That's cinemakc.com.
Thank you.
Yeah. We also have a show on KCPT. But, hey, Laura.
Hi. Though I understand the 25% tax break you can get in the city of Utah, how have you felt in the difference of simple pricing if you film a feature in Utah as compared to Kansas City? I mean, Patrick was just saying they filmed The Green Lady and they didn't charge. So though I get the difference between 25% and 10%, are there more opportunities in Kansas City where people will be more philanthropic in general without needing the 25%?
You mean since they might have a similar policy in Nebraska that's less permit-oriented and expense-oriented? And is that what you're talking about, or?
I just mean, I'm referring to maybe more people that I've heard who film in Chicago or even New York or LA, because 25% is the typical tax incentive program that draws actual legitimate projects to them.
Right.
And so, of course, we want that here. But I'm also thinking of my friends that live in LA and live in New York. The cost comparison is so extremely high there. You know, you couldn't go to some place like the Green Lady and
Right.
get it for free. And I don't know if that's an actual figuring in the budgeting.
And that I think has to be the incentive of, it has to be that sort of soft incentive that we need to look at to get projects to film here, that they might not necessarily be paying all those expenses in a place that doesn't have a robust production schedule. So if you combine maybe the 10% that we're establishing in Kansas City with all that you could save by shooting in this place, where they would roll out the red carpet for certain situations, I think it does kind of balance out. But yeah, when you have a high incentive in some of these states, you still have people that have caught on to the fact that it's a production town and they still charge those high prices for things. It all kind of strangely balances out in that sense. And a lot of people aren't even shooting in LA anymore. The LA production has gone down significantly, because they just can't. It's one of the hardest places to shoot right now is LA, ironically. Hi. Hi, Dan.
So that would be a great idea to have like budget a film here and budget a film someplace else, and you have hard evidence of that discrepancy. In other words, our 10% is really 25% when you compare these films budget. I mean, I know it's a lot of hard work to do budgets in two cities, but that would be something that, it'd be a pretty convincing factor for some angel.
Oh, you mean simultaneously have a project budgeted somewhere else with a stronger incentive?
Exactly.
Okay.
Or I just do a side by side so that it helps you get money here. Yeah.
A visit KC might help to pull in those resources. I mean, they may actually be able to get a track off of, here's a budget for a film that's similar scope of a film that's being done here in Kansas City, and being able to tell that kind of A-B story, right?
That contrasting, situation.
Those partners are already in the in the loop.
Yeah.
You're talking money, you're talking bottom line, and if it comes out the same, that'd be a great way to get that money here. Yeah.
Would you guys like to be the accountants for the new
Yeah.
budget? I'm hiring today.
Meet you in the back room.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the film that you said is happening in Utah and just kind of where you're at in the process?
It's called, I was out shooting a film in Utah earlier. It was called Looking Glass with Nicolas Cage. It's going to come out in February. But we really fell in love with the terrain and the crews.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. And I just kept looking around, and any place you would look, there would be, you could say, you can't even get that. You could just plop some people down and make some sort of story, because that's just amazing. And also, I was really captivated by the professional level of that crew, and people were just saying, just write something for this area and come back and just shoot something. Then started to look into the incentives plans and had contacted the commissioner there. And then Patrick and I, we were talking, and I said, hey, do you want to work on this with me? Because it'd be an amazing thing, and it's suspense. You would love directing it, and you know, you're the structural guy for the suspense, so we sat down and knocked out a couple of drafts. Right now, the process is we are hoping to shoot that next spring is the target. Shooting it next spring. It takes place in Kanab, Utah, in a region where you just get a small pocket of weather. So that's what we're looking at now. We put this kind of back in the lab. We went out and got a little bit of feedback about it. So right now we're doctoring it a little bit, the script, and trying to just get the script up to speed. Because we don't want to, and that's another big point I want to make. You get one shot at this stuff, really. The level of competition is so amazingly high. So Pat and I just danced our toes into the water here, and we got some very considerate and comprehensive feedback that we need to look at. Once that's done, I think we'll be ready to reapproach people. Because we want to make a great story at the bottom line, and not just make a movie. We really, and I really like the idea of doing something simultaneously. That's a great way to combine that business model. But
You know, it's a show mistake, right?
it is. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
We have a question over here.
So I was looking at the design for, it was Gutshot, right, I believe it's called. And I think, was that Vinnie Jones I saw?
Vinnie Jones,
Yeah, he's one of my favorite actors. Do you get to like form connections with a lot of these actors that you've worked with, or do you never really get a chance to meet them more?
Well, it depends on the situation. In that situation, I was less a presence on that set. I visited a couple of times, but I didn't really talk to every actor there. And the only thing that might help out with is if I go to them sometime and say, the manager, Vinnie Jones, he worked on this script, would he be willing to read something new? But
Okay.
I didn't hang out in the pub with him, unfortunately. But,
Sad times, isn't it?
yeah. And we were, my partner and I, we did go out to Utah because we weren't going to miss a chance to be on a Nicolas Cage set, so we got a couple of nice moments with him. And again, it's just this thing where you have to do the dance and be very respectful of what processing they're doing. So you have to find your perfect time to say something. Or they have to say something to you, which is what I waited for ultimately. But hi. Hey, Paul.
So it's very clear that I know the long-range approach and the big vision of all the projects, but so it's such a, you have to do so much long-range planning. So again, how in the interim do you fund revenue to keep living while you're waiting for these long-range plans to come about?
Well, even though it's a 10-year plan, I'm not exactly sure when that will trigger. So I'm going to spend some time getting up to the point of even having it be a trigger point. And I do, knock on wood, so far I've been able to survive as a writer. I've been still getting residuals for other things, and I like to get out of my house a little bit, so I'll try to get out and about, and sometimes
Do you write other things besides scripts? I mean,
I've written film articles and things like that, and I'm sort of in this strange undertow as a ghostwriter, and strangely I get about a third of my things through ghostwriting. People that, just for one reason or another, they can't develop something to the final stage of, and they want to look like they did. So, fortunately, so far, this has been my only occupation. And I'm just trying to dream big, because we got to hit something out of the park here. Everybody's doing it all around us. We've got the means to do it. So if anybody is ready to invest in this project today, I'll run over and set up the account right now. No, I'm not here. Actually, I'm not here to even ask that. I'm here to see if you guys are interested in participating in this notion. I really want to form a situation where everybody is rising together and putting their various talents forward. Yes, sir.
You went to UMKC?
Uh-huh.
What did you study there?
I studied communications. Yeah.
Mind if I ask what year?
Yes.
I went there too.
Oh, you did? Where? Yeah. Were you communications?
Communications,
Oh,
film, TV, Carol Kaler.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
So, And then you went to USC?
Mm-hmm.
What would you study there?
Cinematic
Screenwriting?
arts. Yeah, it was at the time called cinematic. It was called production basically, but now it's called the School of Cinematic Arts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how long were you in LA for before you decided to move back?
Well, I moved back. I've been here about 10 years now. And the reason I moved back was I had some personal situations that kept taking me back to Kansas City, and it just became more and more enticing to stay here. And it was like, oh, I'm here now, and I have to go back to LA. Oh, that's right, you know. But it became more of an obligatory thing, and I couldn't justify it after a while. Because really, with technology, you can write from anywhere. You can do what I do from anywhere. And it was kind of hard for me to discover that until I was out of it. But the thing is, after being back here, just everybody shares the same dream. And I talk to so many people. They're here in this room. Trevor, great director, Pat. We all have this burning passion for this place. And we just have to get it here. We just have to get all those cool things, that we think are so important. We have to get them to come here. And as soon as we start proving ourselves as a city and making a slate of movies, I think it'll be really a great opener to the world. Yes.
Hey, Jerry, what script or project are you most excited about working on?
Out of these ones I showed, there's anything that's kind of insular. There's a couple of projects here that are really self-contained, and there's one called The Six, which is just takes place mostly in a farmhouse and on a farm, and it's all set up in this area, so it's really easy to do logistically. That's what I think I might try to forward as an early possibility. And then there's another one called Model Citizen. It takes place in the 50s. It's about a guy that goes into a place that makes educational films, and it ends up getting completely corrupted. It's supposed to take place in Joplin, Missouri, but it's one of those things you can all shoot on a soundstage, like Old Father Studios or something. So I would look at the insular projects first and then expand outward, and the things that have more breadth to them should be considered as later things. And I'd love to send it to you. Hey, Paul.
It seems like Netflix, with their decision to create so much original content, is, and of course now we have Hulu jumping in the game and Amazon, so it feels like there's a whole other level of production or investment in storytelling that's happening outside of the traditional film studio networks. I mean, is that something to think about as you imagine what the next 5 to 10 years is going to be like?
Absolutely, something to think about. As a production partner, not necessarily, because that would mean the same kind of ideology that you have when you're in LA, where you give up a lot of creative control, and ultimately it might feel hollow at the end. But I would love to go to any of those venues as an acquisition route. There are so many opportunities happening in Amazon and Hulu and all those, and Netflix. I mean, exponentially that territory has completely expanded, and that's the way people are watching programming now and movies. And yeah, absolutely, that would be on the back end idea as a distributor. I'm not sure how it would work as a production partnership, but that's something worth exploring and thinking about.
I'll throw it out, just because the concept of partners has come up a couple times. You talk about John's got his Greenlee Lounge, Black Dolphin, things like that. There's a whole series of us, and I think you've shot a button, that have small properties around, that have some character, that are, 1920s and crazy other things that go on with them. That I think there's a lot of us that would open that to the film community at no cost, and whether it's communicating with myself or John, we all run in circles.
It was great. We actually shot in the Black Dolphin one day and shot in the Green Lady the other day. So it was great.
Yeah. So those are open, and I think probably more open than maybe it's always realized.
Yeah, and I believe with what Steph's doing over there, she has so many great relationships she's bolstered with goods and services and everybody that, I think people just don't charge in general when productions, want to shoot there. And that will change. That will be the devil's edge of the sword, that bring in more, productions, things start to change.
Yeah.
But right now, it is a huge incentive to have a very friendly, film-friendly community.
I mean, some of the experiences I've had where if you go to LA and then people see a film shoot, they all pull out their lawnmowers because they want you to come by and give them a little bit of cash to turn their lawnmowers on. And it's one of those things where, I've had shoots where a lawnmower is turned on and we just send somebody over to politely say, hey, can you hold it for 20 minutes? And they're like, sure, no problem. Very rarely people get upset around here. They're like, oh, you're making a movie? Okay, great. So everybody's really cool about it. So far.
I think a lot of the small business world in Kansas City would be hugely supportive in any way that we can.
So yeah, if you guys know of anybody who is a small business and might want to participate in this ultimate idea, we're looking to build from the ground up.
Yeah, Steph does have a directory of, for filmmakers to use, and that has everything from costume designers to locations to music people that filmmakers can go to. So so her office is really coming up with a lot, but too, she's one person. So definitely any community support that can be given to these film groups and the film community is very grateful, because again, it turns around and creates a greater economy for Kansas City. So, right.
Is anybody a film? I know some are, but is anybody making films in this room right now? Cool. Keep doing it, because as Pat knows and it said, that's the way to do it. If you have a passion for this, just keep driving, keep doing it.
And so is there anything that we can do to screensaver?
I have a thing up with bears.
So is there anything we can do as a community to help you further grow? Did we answer some of your questions regarding advisory partners?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for the great ideas, too.
Yeah, well, good. And two, there's networking afterwards. Both speakers are available either through website or Facebook. And if you know of a connection that you come on along down a few days from now, a few months from now, let them know. Because again, it's a welcoming community and we want to encourage that, So thank you.